All right, guys, this will be for YouTube. I'm gonna react to Overworked Salary Man, and like said earlier, he has a YouTube channel. Please subscribe to him, and he has a Twitch. Please subscribe or follow him. Follow him here also on Twitch. And the main reason why I am gonna react to this because yes, I am gonna cover action basic I cover action Taimanin stuff and Taimanin what you call it games on my channel. So yeah, basically this is the main reason why I'm gonna react to this person. All right, let's do it.
Fish. What?
Okay.
There's only space for one on this couch. Well, I guess that means we're not doing an apology video or something, thank goodness. I swear, every time
Okay.
something like big-ish happens in this space, it happens to be during the periods where I'm not within Tokyo, right? The last time around with the second illusion video as well, I had to film it in a hotel in Osaka as well, due to the fact that it all happened so suddenly. Yeah, for the most part, I'm just recording the intro here, and the fact that you're seeing the video means that I've gotten enough of the information that I need to make a video about what happened at the time. By the time you're seeing this video, at least, I would have already gone home and done a little more digging into the data side of things, because I don't have access to most of the tools I use for data digging here. The last two times we did talk about any of that stuff, it was about the two times that the company kind of bunched up a little. Ever since then, well, let's
And yeah, guys, I actually yes, I
the two
actually
times that the company kind of
yeah, I actually reacted to these videos. It's here on Twitch as well, or and on YouTube as well. I have those reaction videos here on. I'm not yeah, that and on YouTube as well, Twitch and YouTube. All right, let's continue.
bunched up a little. Ever since then, well, let's just say some stuff has happened.
Yeah, EOS. There it is, EOS.
And I figured that now that everything that has happened has gone the way it has, we could talk a little bit more about the game and what went wrong with it and all the other stuff. When I first made the original video, there's a part of me that didn't really want to be too negative of it as well, due to the fact that the game was still in operation. And I did actually hope that maybe they would be able to turn it around, since I did know that some of the people in the team, at least, who were put in later on, were people who worked on the original RPG, and they were trying their best to help turn around this kind of sinking ship of a project at the time. So I decided to lay off on it. I didn't.
So yeah, it is a sinking ship. Oh man. And then yeah, the RPGX people were actually on Japan. We're actually gonna help them. Okay, that is interesting. Okay, let's continue.
Go too deep into it at a time. For those of you who are relatively newish to the channel and don't really watch all of the videos on it, due to the fact that like some of it may not be applicable, since I do get that like the videos, there is a very big variety of stuff here. You might be wondering why I'm over here sitting in a couch in the middle of Kyoto talking about this. But it just so happens that there was a period where I did work for a short while as a dev in Infinite Brain Grammary as well. In fact, I did actually work for like a short 6 months on the Taimanin RPG Extasy project.
Really? So he was on Grammarly and Interbrain. That's pretty cool.
Prior to it even getting that name. Back then, there wasn't even a name for the project yet. It was just like a relatively newish idea that they had to try and make their original game, which is an adult game, so like something that was not really possible to release on many of the platforms that exist out there, to try and make that something that would be releasable in, well, many other parts of the world, platforms like Apple or Google. In case you are wondering, if the clothing gets a little too skimpy, they actually would prevent you from like actually having ads on the platform itself, or even releasing the thumbnail or the like sample images. So many companies tried to avoid it, and there were many things that like Infinite Brain Grammary at the time had to figure out in order to try to release the title. So I was brought in to help them with like trying to add more gameplay elements to the game. Unfortunately, most of what I did for the title actually did not make it into the final game. Everything else that I suggested was pretty much just ignored at the time. So like I don't know.
Oh my god, poor guy. His suggestions were ignored. No. Oh well.
Why they even brought me into the team if they were not gonna like seriously listen to anything I had to say. But like that was an issue with the director of the project itself, which I think
Exactly. The director is incompetent, like I said on my other reactions. All right, let's continue.
I talked about him in the previous video as well. So if you're interested in some of the background of the entire situation, you can go and watch that video. I'll probably be touching on those where it's relevant, but I'll be more talking about like what led this game to the EOS that happened this quickly in a way that it did. Of course, some might still be doubting the fact that I actually worked in the company in the past, and it's like this is the internet. People can literally just say whatever they want to. For those who are wondering, I can like at least now. I mean, it's been more than a year. No, it hasn't been that long, but it has been a while. So I feel like a little more comfortable since the channel has been also doing decently well. I have spoken to a bunch of people to make sure like what I can and cannot disclose just to be safe with it.
Yep.
And like if you're wondering like,
It's fine, man. If you have NDAs, it's fine. We don't. If you still have NDAs, it's fine. Just say what you need. You can actually say, so we can know what's actually happening there. We can have basically ideas. Basically, all right. Let's continue. And he's doing a funny face here.
this guy is just another nerd on the internet just saying whatever he wants. I do have here two things that I can show. First of which is the 90, which is the announcement that a company gives you when they
Oh, what's this? Oh, Grammar Games. Okay. Aside from the company head whose name is publicly available info, all names and dates have been redacted. Okay. This is okay. If anyone can translate this, or probably overworked salaryman will actually do this, the translation for us. Yeah, this is actually Grammar Games. Okay. Let's do this. Let's do this.
actually like formally accept your application. So this is the point in time where you have not formally become a part of the company yet, but you have applied, you have gone through the interview, and the company is like, yeah, we want you. And then you basically reply to this
Gunner
stating that you
Army.
wish to
Oh my
join. So
God.
like this is the official like notification that they send me. Of course you can look at this and be like, oh, but like there's no like company corporate stamp or anything. You could just like print that. It's just a piece of paper with words on it. Anyone can print that. So along with this, here is the email that I actually got from them after sending them my
Again, I redacted out the names and dates where needed. So, oh yeah, there it is. Grammarly, it's a recruitment agency, and there's the PDF, and the names and everything is redacted, and all the addresses as well. So yeah, yeah, actually, yeah. For those who don't believe that this guy is not was it a dev or a developer for Grammarly Games and Interbrain? There it is. There's your proof. He is a developer.
acceptance of the 90. So you can go and like translate it for yourself if you want and you don't believe me. The email address is
Yeah, I believe you, man. I believe you. Yeah, as a fellow otaku, yeah, I believe you.
well, you can actually go and check it for yourself. It is all legit. I did join the company at the time. Obviously, my name and the date are redacted from this due to the fact that, well, I mean, I don't want to dox myself. And the date kind of does
Of
matter
course.
because the company is really small. Like, by the time I was in, there were maybe like 50 people in the whole company. It's not a very big company per se. So, if with just the date alone, it would be very easy to like then track who I am, especially if you were to like use other sources of like social media to try and figure out when like someone joined these companies. So I kind of don't want to give that either if it's fine. But yeah,
That's
suffice to
good.
say,
That's
I
good.
don't work there anymore. But even then, I do hold quite a lot of respect for many people in the company, especially the people who worked on the original Taimanin RPG. Mad
Of
respect to
course.
those people. It's like their game was single-handedly carrying the company up until
That is true. Taimamin RPGX is the only game that is actually carrying the Lilith franchise right now. Thanks to the storyline, thanks to the hentai scenes, and thanks to basically the fans that are basically there wailing for everything. So yeah, like I said, respect your player base. And if you respect your player base 100%, you will earn they will help you out. The company will be helped out. That's it. Basically, you have a fan base already. All right, let's continue. A built-in fan base.
the point where like Action Taimanin released. Like for those of you who didn't know, most like purely visual novel companies now, unless they are really small, they tend to be very unprofitable. Visual arts as well was actually in the red for a long time, and Grammarly as well, like a part of the reason why Infinite Brain doesn't want to really do like visual novels and just release those anymore, simply because if they just did those, it might actually eventually bankrupt the company, which is why they
Really now? So is there no hope for a Taimamin Yukikaze 3? So yeah, we only have Taimamin Yukikaze 1 and Taimamin Yukikaze 2. For those who don't know. And Taimamin Asagi and Taimamin Yukikaze 1 are already released on Steam. There's an uncensored patch on Joran. And yeah, for the thing that Salaryman is saying here, yeah, they actually can't do visual novels anymore. They really are gonna rely on the mobile game. All right, let's or the browser game that we have, Taimamin RPGX. All right, let's continue.
They go into gacha games, and also why for a while Infinite Brain has been trying to push for like family friendly, like general consumer titles as well. For those of you who don't know the IP, Taimanin is if you're not above the age of 18 or like whatever the legal age in your country, yes,
All I can say, yeah, if it's gonna beat around the bush, I'll just say it. Taimamin is a visual novel. Originally, it has hentai stuff, and it has many gooner stuff and coomer stuff. So, like I said, it's basically hentai. That's it. That's it. Just straight to the point on my end, but that's it.
I feel like I say this every single video I do this, but it matters. Do not look it up. For those of you who are
No, look it up, guys. Look it up. You will be surprised. Your lives will be changed. Look it up. I'm gonna play devil's advocate on this one. So yeah, look it up.
I don't feel like I should like try to explain it in the video for a third time, since it does like take up quite a fair bit of the video runtime as well. So you could go look it up. But to put it very simply, in the world
There we go. Look it up. He actually said it. I'm telling you. He's just saying, no, 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 don't look it up. And then in the end, look it up. I told you. Like I said, it's the internet, guys. Just type Timerman on any browser. You will know where it came from. Just don't go to Mahu Kaiju. That's wrong. Go to Timerman Wiki. You'll do. That is the best, sources for Timerman. I know the guy that works there. He's a very passionate fan. He has all the art books, all the backstories, and everything. He translates everything, and he's amazing. And he actually edits stuff, and I actually contribute on the Time I'm in Wiki as well, just a little bit, some images here and there, but overall, yeah. Basically, we are just a community of Time I'm in fans. All right, let's continue.
all of the different adult like king genres that exist within Japan, it wouldn't be a stretch of the imagination to say that many of the biggest ones or some of the strangest ones have all been something that were initially incepted by this company. They were quite unorthodox, I guess. But yeah, going back to this title, the reason why it happened to EOS, like I'm not in the company anymore, so I can't say for 100% certainty because I'm not like in the meeting room seeing every single segment, every single second where this goes down. But the answer to that is actually really simple, but that very simple answer has a much more detailed like elaboration after it if you're willing to listen to all of that as well. But to put it very simply, the reason why this title actually ended servers is simply due to poor management and just it being
Exactly.
too expensive to keep running. But for those of you who want the long answer that isn't just me stating the obvious, then well, come on, let's go. Back to Tokyo, you come with me. We'll talk about all of it while we're there. Because I kind of do want some of the data to be like beside me and for me to look at before I finish this video.
All right, let's do this. Let's go back to Tokyo. And he's walking. He's actually recording and walking. Are we gonna go walk? Oh my god.
I initially wanted to put
He every time he's in his room, something drops for some reason. Oh my god, man. Why? Why? Oh man. I don't know if that's for comedy purposes or it's just the room. Either way. Let's continue.
something that might match the occasion a little more and have something a little more cooler in the background, but come to think of it, this tapestry probably isn't the best representation of the coolness of the series, since I
It's
don't think there
not.
was much of it in that season. And everything else I have for all of the other series I have like behind me here. I feel like if I were to put it in the video, I'll probably get slaughtered by the YouTube ninja. So we're just gonna go with this. This is for the best I can do. That said, when it comes to the cost of this game, some of you might be wondering, like, wait, like, how can the cost of this game to begin with be something so inhibitive that the game would have to end service within 1 year? Because really, what they really were just doing with this project
Yeah,
was
it's
just
just a
taking an
year.
existing game and just adding on more content and maybe changing up a lot of bit of the content that
Yeah, that is true. In Taimanin RPGX Extasy, the global version, yeah, they only added more stuff. They changed a little bit, they tweak a little bit, but overall, it's nearly the same. The only problem is that, in my opinion, they added too much stuff there, and they actually mismanaged some stuff, and that's pretty much it. It's basically just more grindy than the original Taimanin RPGX game. If they just copy pasted it as is and just translated it, it would be more smooth sailing. But I don't know why the reason is that. But yeah, the bottom line is, yeah, to milk global players. We all know that. We all know that. It's not a hidden something. Oh no, they're doing some. No, no. A company needs to make money. So overall, that's the main reason why they added more stuff. But yeah, it's very poor implementation thanks to the management. All right, let's continue with Overworked Sellerman's explanations here.
already exists. You know, it's kind of pretty much like modding, except that this time the modder is the actual developer, so they don't really even have to go through all of the hoops that a typical modder would have to try and like figure out how they can work around the way that stuff is coded or all of the bugs in the game, how they can use it or exploit it to create like unique features that the game originally didn't have. It would only take like a bunch of veteran devs less than a year to do. But there are some things that actually balloon the cost of all of this more so than it probably should have. One of the things is something I mentioned in the previous video, which is the fact that this entire game was rebuilt from scratch for Unity. The original game, as most
Really?
of you might know, is basically just a browser game, and so in order to make an application that could run on Steam, they decided that they wanted to redo all of it. But
Oh
as you
my
can
god.
imagine, that would, in and of itself, increase the cost quite a fair bit. And on top of that is also the fact that, as I mentioned in that video as well, the original director
So yeah, so that's the main reason why it actually costs more. They actually redone all this stuff again on Unity. So yeah, they built it to the ground up and added more not really features, but more grind to the game to milk players to ev- to add everything. So yeah, it's really mismanagement, and yeah, it's coming right up right now. Reason it failed, and there's the cost. Yeah, we are right here, and yeah, opening. Yeah, there's a recent failed revenue, recent poor management, reason why it failed on what's it? On woes and wrap up. Okay, okay. Let's continue.
of this project, who was basically the same person who ran Taimanin Go at the time,
Yeah, see, I told you guys this on my last video on YouTube. The same guy that actually ran Taimamin Go and Taimamin RPGX is the same guy, and both of these games actually EOS. That guy is not a good manager. I said, yeah, if it's fired, it's good. If it's not fired, oh my god, I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, I hopefully he's fired. But yeah, let's continue.
not the best developer. Even with Taimanin Go,
What's this? Kyle said, "Wait, what would happen if Action Time and if RPGX EOS in Japan? Would the company go down? Also, it fails. No, because Action Time is already merged. Japan and Global actually merge. So yeah, they're no longer separate. So we are good. Whatever Japan has, we also have in Global because Action Timeamin is merged, so no problem on that one. On Steam and on mobile as well. So yeah, no problems on that one, Kyle. All right, let's continue on this one.
it's like it was initially meant to be a project that was supposed to take 1 year to complete and ended up taking two. The same thing actually happened with this project. In the end, this also took slightly above 2 years to complete, due to the fact that the entire first year of the project, pretty much, as far as I know, it was in a standstill for a very long time due to the fact that the director really wasn't the best. And it was only in the last year, the second year, where it finally started to move.
Wasn't the best is an understatement on that director. Two games EOS, pretty showing on your management. Oh man, that director, it shows on your management skills. That doesn't look good on you, man.
And it only really got pushed to market because of the fact that the director was replaced by someone else from the original Taimanin RPG team in the
That is good. At the very end, he's gonna say, "Yeah, that's pretty good."
very last few months of the project.
Or very last few months. Okay, so I thought at the very end. So yeah, I think that the whoever that person is on the original Taimanin RPGX team actually tried to salvage Taimanin RPGX Extasy, and yeah, they still can. They still cannot. It EOS. Oh man, it's the gem depth. Damn it! Who? It's the gem depth. If they didn't have that gem depth, Taimanin RPGX Ecstasy would still be alive here. Uh, after the EOS. Oh man, let's continue. Let's continue.
So, as you can imagine, the fact that the game took double the amount of time to produce means that the costs are already significantly higher. It would take longer for the project to recoup the man hours put into it. Plus, another thing that I already mentioned in the previous video, so I'll just quickly recap over it, is the fact that Ecstasy was actually produced by a company in Shanghai. So they actually outsourced the development of all of the new features and the UI parts to the company there.
Yeah, and that's the main reason why some of the translations are not that good. Hell Knight became Devil Dom instead of Hell Knight Ingrid. Devil Dom Ingrid. I still can't. It hurts. It hurts my. It hurts. And some of the censorships are inconsistent on the characters as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And like said, there's some technical stuff that was outsourced in Shanghai. And yeah, let's have him continue.
Why they didn't do it in-house is very strange to me to begin with. It's almost as if they expected this project wouldn't do very well, considering the fact that the people that developed the original Taimanin RPG were in-house, so they could have just done this in-house and got those people to ensure that everything is consistent and there wouldn't be too much like issues with the way that the game itself was being coded. But instead they decided to not only outsource it to a company overseas, but they actually forgot to renew the contract. So
Exactly. That's the main reason why. Oh man, you should have gotten the original team to make the game. Why did you outsource it? You need to rebuild the game from the ground up and then, oh man, translate it and everything. And it's, oh boy, it's mismanagement, man. Mismanagement.
the project had to be taken in-house in the very last minute and done there. So like, it all the more confuses me. So at that point, some of the stuff even had to be recorded once it was brought in-house, since like the work was just kind of left half complete and not everything could be directly used as is.
What? Half complete? RPGX was half complete? But yeah, it actually shows it's really half complete because, yeah, it's not the full. When the roadmap actually leaked, it's not complete. It's not the complete RPGX roadmap for what you call it, the year. So yeah, all right, let's continue.
So even more costs were incurred there. And on top of that, this game wasn't just outsourced to one company to
Really?
complete. No. If that were the case, you would be thinking too sensibly for the situation that we have on hand. This game was actually outsourced to two different companies to produce.
Two companies.
One was the one in this case that basically developed the game itself, and then the translation, the localization was outsourced to a second company to complete. And you want to know what's the most bizarre part of all of that? The fact that the translation, the localization, was all outsourced to a company in Korea instead, which in and of itself is fine. There are many good programmers developing.
So I'm not gonna blame the Shanghai on what you call it, the translations. I'm gonna blame the Korean translators on whatever company that is. Devil Dom, Hell Knight to Devil Dom. That's so bad. That translation is so bad. Oh my god.
Developers from Korea. For those of you who have played the game, you probably realize that really the only languages that the game was in was Japanese, English, and Chinese.
Yep.
So they didn't even outsource it to a company that was located in a country that spoke any of the languages locally. And this actually did initially during development cause quite a big amount of hassle as well. Like I saw parts of the project as well. There were many errors with the English as well as the Chinese
Exactly. Exactly.
localizations that they had there. And so a large part of the weirdness was that was then dealt with by people within the team instead. So people within the Ecstasy team were then dealing with the localization because they did have like one localization, English speaking, Chinese speaking staff there. After that, on top of translating it in-house, the localization team within the company, which was a separate team, suddenly butted into the overall thing and started to try to take control of the localization itself, claiming that many of the things dealing with the localization weren't consistent enough. So essentially, the game went through 2.5 times like of a reiteration for just the localization alone across like 3 different groups of people. So
Oh my god. Oh my god. I think yeah, localizations like that. Yeah, I think that's happening to every gaming company right now. If if it's not AAA games, even niche games like this, they actually have that problem here as well. But this is more from mismanagement than anything else. If it's well managed, just like what happened to the first RPGX game in Japan, I think it's gonna work well. But oh man, whoever that manager is whatever. Oh boy. All right, let's continue.
it ended up being the case that a lot of work was unnecessarily being redone in a way that would have likely cost the team even more because as more people are brought onto the project from the localization team as well, you can imagine that the company would start costing the project more. Though of course if we're going to talk about costs, then it would only make sense that we talk about the opposite side, right? To talk about the revenue, whether the game earned enough to be sustainable. Because if your costs are high, like Genshin, right, one of the most expensive games to be developed for the mobile platform, that game, really high cost, but it did make back enough to actually justify the cost. So even if your costs are high, even if the
Okay.
cost may have been a little unoptimally high, like with Power for example, if the game is good, you still earn a lot, you can still cover the cost. Now, needless to say, at this point, it has been quite some years since I left the company, so I can't exactly
Yeah, Pal. Yeah, for those who don't know, Pal World was originally on Unity. Then they shift to Unreal, so they could do quote unquote more stuff. All right, let's continue.
get a hold of all information because certain things, obviously, they're not going to disclose to an outsider, even if you worked in the company before. Things such as actual revenue and cost, like numbers, especially since this is a private company. Arguably, many of the people within the company itself probably don't even know the full figures as well. However, we can more or less estimate how many people were likely to be playing the game, and therefore whether or not there would have even been enough people around for them to justify all of the, not just the costs that led up to the development of the title, but all of the costs that would be incurred going forward in terms of coming up with new specs, adding in all of the content that was not in yet, so on and so forth. So it was for this reason that I actually wanted to initially come home and do more research using the tools I have in order to try and figure this out. The only issue is that I couldn't really get good numbers for this game due to the fact that unlike something like Taimanin right, where you had a game that was on one platform and the one platform is one that is easily tracked. When you
Hmm.
think of Taimanin Ecstasy, this was a game that was technically on multiple platforms at once.
That is true. It is on Steam. It is on mobile. It is on other hentai services games like Notaku and Joran Games. All right, let's continue.
You had it on PC, right? Steam, that was the original one. You had it on mobile, right? You had your Google and iPhone app as well.
Yep.
And on top of these two, you also had Notaku, which Notaku is a bit of an iffy one because that is the one that we can't exactly figure out how much of the revenue they were actually getting from this game due to the fact that they don't like itemize their revenues when they declare all of it. And there aren't actually any good tools that track it the way you can with any of the other systems out there. But when we look at each of the individual platforms as well as the social media that they had,
Right.
we can kind of come to an estimate with regards to all of this. For example, if you were to look at Steam, the overall total number of
Negative.
reviews the game got was 417. You could use it to estimate the total number of people who play off of this platform. Typically, the rule of thumb that some people have is that if the game is popular enough and big enough, usually you would come with a range of like 30x.
Okay, depending on how popular the game is, uh, you would what the hell? Depending on how popular the game is, multi you would multiple the reviews or multiply the reviews factor of 30 times 100 by the highly popular games that sell a lot of turning to be closer than times 100 times more than the casual players who do not write reviews are expected to play the game as well. So yeah, it's gonna be Steam numbers as well on this one. Oh yeah.
To 100x of your actual review count. And with a title like this, where there was actually something very big that happened, I think we all know what happened. If not, you can just
Yeah.
watch this video first. I feel like most of the context.
Yeah, the gem depth. Watch that video. The gem depth is the best video to actually know the reason why it is was mismanaged. All right, let's continue.
Be missing if you didn't. So if you have not and you want to know what the entire situation initially started off with, you can
for
give that one a
respects.
check and then
Yes.
come back to this one. But yeah, with a title like this where people actually had a reason to leave reviews, we could go with a slightly more optimistic, or I guess pessimistic in their case. Somewhere within the average of like 100x and 30x, we'll just take like 60. And if we do, that would basically bring the total number of people who installed the game up to this point to about 25,000, which is not a very high number to begin with. So to begin with, not many people.
Oh my god, total reviews at the time of the recording is 417. 60 times total number of installs, so 25,000. Note, we are not talking about daily or monthly active users, but instead we are looking at the total installs. Basically, we're being generous and assuming that the people who have played and wailed from the start remained and spent, which is unlikely in the case, but getting a hold of the monthly active users is tough with the existing data. All right.
Were playing, and therefore there was a much smaller population of whales overall who might be able to keep the game funded. And when you look at sites such as SteamDB, which I know are such a generic site, it does feel like I'm using something that everyone else uses. It's boring. Why are you using this? Use something else. Look, as much as I would love to have used some of the other sources I typically do, none of them actually even display this game on the actual website at all. It was so small, like the revenue, the DAU, everything was so small that most of those other websites do not even show the Steam value. So there's no way to actually check good estimates aside from using SteamDB at this point. That's how dire the situation is, alright? Even if you look at SteamDB,
oh my
you would
god,
notice that for the last 1 month, the highest peak that the game has actually gotten to was about 250 players. So it's been very low even before they announced EOS and it went down. Now, of course, you also have Notaku as well as mobile, but for mobile, it's actually as dire, it would seem.
And guys, the main reason why people are not playing on Steam, they are gonna be playing on Otaku, they are gonna be playing on Joran, and yeah, because they censored the game. People were expecting the Steam version to be uncensored, and everything will be there. But alas, it's not. So that's the main reason why Steam it's not gonna it's not gonna basically kick it. If you really want the hentai stuff, because sex sells. Go to basically Jordan Games or Nutaku. All right, let's continue.
Because most of the websites I used to check basically refused to output any data because they were saying this game was outside of the top 1,000 games that exist. The
Really?
any data.ai that had it, and even over
Okay, Apple Store data. Okay, 45 active users was not displayed, and what's this? And store profit seems to be just two data points. Android, Apple Store. Oh my God! It only earned $45. Really? That seems a little more stable, though. It's hard to verify. So this is not verification, but really, it only earned $45 on Apple. Oh my God! Because yeah, it's a censored game. No one's gonna wail for a censored game. No one's gonna buy stuff for a censored game unless you have, the hentai stuff. That's the time people will actually buy stuff. So yeah. Okay, let's continue.
there, they showed it to be like only the data for the Google App Store. The Apple
But I highly suggest go for the Joran and Notaku stuff. But like he said, Notaku's not consistent. I don't know about Joran games, but all I can say, I think many people actually did wail on Joran. I know a couple of guys on the Time I'm in Discord that did, but yeah, let's continue.
App Store itself was just not accessible at all for some reason. Now, with Nutaku, obviously it's going to be a big problem because none of the data is disclosed. But what we can do, however, is try to compare it to some other similar-ish titles in terms of situation. Not so much in terms of the EOS, but in terms of how the EN global release was dealt with as compared to the JP release. And we try to look at how those games do in terms of DAU as compared to the followers on Twitter, and maybe we can come to some form of guess on like how much of the proportion of the players are actually likely to be already following the Twitter account. The issue with doing this, however, is the fact that it's really difficult trying to find a good game to use as a comparison to Taimanin RPG Extasy. Like, I feel like you would have an easier chance to try to swim to the bottom of the Mariana Trench than to actually try to find a similar game because of the fact that this game's situation is really quite unique in how it was released. Like, just the fact that there is already a almost 4-5 year gap between the global and
It
JP
is.
version, and as far as I know from within the company, that was their plan to keep it at that big of a gap, as insane as that sounds. And they also did try to change up the gameplay itself, which is very, very, very rare for a
It shouldn't
global
have.
release as well.
They should have
And
done
I
that.
feel like nowadays, global releases, most games try to do it simultaneously where possible by budget, and where not possible, when you look at games like Project Sekai, Dokkan Bataru, Blue Archive, most of them try to keep it within a year or less. Like, aside from Project Sekai, the rest that I mentioned, and if you include like Puzzles and Dragons even, they tend to only have a gap of about 6 months. Even SGO, which arguably has a relatively large gap, and Princess Connect back in the day only had a 2 year gap, so it's hard to find a title with a very similar situation. So the most we can do is maybe use something like FGO, for example.
Okay.
And if we do, what we do see is that as compared to its monthly active user for the month of March across all platforms, which was about 710,000 people, about 254,000 people actually follow the global account on Twitter. So if we assume, and this might be a little bit of a stretch, but if we assume that all of the people who follow the account are still also playing the game, then that means that about 35-36% of the player base actually follows the game on Twitter. Now, obviously, we could be more generous with Taimanin RPG, right? We could assume that because of the type of content that the game has, maybe many people out there, they have more friends than I do, right? So they actually have friends who might judge them for their funny taste and things and stuff. So maybe half the number of people or the proportion of people who follow a game actually would have with a game like Taimanin RPG Extasy, for example. So let's take 17.5% as the number of people that actually follow the game on social media. And if we do, even then we will arrive at a total number of about 30,000 people playing the game overall, which for a game that newly released, for its current user base to be around that number really would be quite worrying. And the thing we have to understand is that unlike with FGO, for example, where you do have a reason to sum up both of the different platforms together with, Taimanin RPG, it it's a little less clear how much of their player base across the multiple platforms actually are different people, due to the fact that people might play the game both on mobile and on the browser or on Steam at the same.
Of course, because yeah, people will play on the mobile, they will link it to the browser. The main reason why they link it to the browser is because of the hentai stuff. People want to see the hentai stuff, and that's how we do it. And the main problem on Steam, the reason why people didn't, uh, do a lot of stuff on Steam, because yeah, they have the censored stuff on Steam, which is, oh man, if they only had the uncensored stuff on Steam 100%, I think this RPGX wouldn't have EOS. But with the gem depth and all, I don't know. I don't know. All right, let's continue.
Same time, due to the fact that this kind of cross-platform connectivity is something that the game actually has, and there is an obvious segment of content that you would really only want to enjoy in the confines of your own home, in your Gunner cave, if I may, as compared to some of the grindy content which you might do at work or at school and have your friend ask you what you're playing and get judged for it. So the player base might actually even be smaller than this number. And even then, even if we assume that, perhaps I'm wrong and it's double of this number, it's still a fairly small number, which if we assume that the number of whales in this game, or the proportion of whales, is the same as the proportion of whales in most other games, that will mean that they would have a very small segment of people who might actually be spending money on this game. And when you consider the fact that many people lost confidence to spend, or might have been put in such a big debt due to the gem debt that they may have chosen not to spend anymore,
Yep.
then the number of whales, the proportion might actually be smaller than your average game, meaning that the amount of money being put into the game may not be enough to cover all of the costs of both maintaining the game now, as well as for all of the future content that they want to add in, as well as to cover all of the costs incurred building the game to this point. Moving on from there were also many of the issues that arose from the way that the game was managed, as well as many of the development side decisions that were made, that quite likely just created the player confidence and drove away many of the people who were playing the game, and which caused many people who might have been interested to just not start altogether. And it is because of all of this that they quite likely saw that the player base was dwindling and there was no way the game was going to grow to the original expectations to be able to even hit the sales targets that it had. The gem debt thing, I feel like even people who didn't play the game at this point, many of you guys would have also heard about what happened with it. For those who don't, basically, they kind of bugged up the trust, the bond stat in the game.
Yep.
And when you increase the bond stat at certain points, you basically get gems. And they basically had it at a much higher value than anticipated. I mean, to be fair, the players would have no way to actually reasonably know, due to the fact that the game was changed up so much that this bond system was also pretty much reworked from the JP.
Yeah, the original game had a fewer trust levels, and they were used to unlock H scenes, which was the reward rather than the gameplay resource. And that's the main reason why you don't censor the game when you are on PC. Steam shouldn't have when you put it on Steam, it shouldn't have been censored. The main reason why is because the selling point is the H scenes. Who would basically just do that and then just link their Steam to Joran to actually just look at the H scenes? As much as we want to play the game, yeah, we're playing it for the rewards on the H scenes, because yeah, the story may be good, the grind may be good, but we are here for the H scenes, of course. That's the reason why we are the Gooners. All right, let's continue.
version, so players would have no way of knowing if this amount was supposed to be the correct amount, and so they just farmed it relatively easily because it's not that hard to farm the bonds to begin with. And then for the people who got those gems, the gems were deducted, and for those who did not know and who had already rolled away the gems, basically they were just put into a gem debt for a very long period of time after. But aside from this, the stuff that would show that the dev has a pattern of doing stuff like this was also the fact that I believe it was in the second event after the game released, where they, for the first 2 days of the event, apparently had the drop rates of the items from the event way higher than it was supposed to be. And they basically just like changed it down after the second day. And this meant that players who didn't play during the first 2 days essentially earn less resources than the people who played on the first two and all the way onward. So there was this level of unfairness that was born as a result of the whole way that this was handled as well. And there were also the issues of like all the weird bugs that existed in the game with the guild system, the PvP, the defense teams that they were supposed to fight against to climb up the ladder with hackers and that as well. And
Really?
the way, the speed at which they handled all of this and
There
the
were hackers?
decisions they made to try and handle all of this just led to player confidence slowly decreasing more and more as they realized that while the devs were trying, yes, they did their best, the best that they could think of sometimes showed that they just didn't really have what seemed like sufficient respect for their players as well.
That
And
is true.
in a way, I can kind of see this happening because I
That is
do
true.
know that some of the people on the team actually kind of really despise gacha games as well. Like, the
Really?
people who worked on RPG, they're all fine, great people, but the people who worked separately, specifically on this title, who were there from the start, as far as I know, the original director, the guy who was quite incompetent and who ran Taimanin Go into the ground,
Oh my
he
God.
and the guy directly below him, both of them actually really despise gacha games in general.
Oh,
And like
really?
they couldn't understand why people played
That's a revelation. That guy actually despised gotcha games. No wonder he wanted this. He probably has this, I'm going to tank this game. I'm going to make them fail. Why would you do that? Oh my God. Poor Oma. Time I'm in Go-Go. Oh boy. It had potential. It had potential. And RPGX. Poor RPGX Global. Oh boy. No wonder it died. That manager didn't like gotcha games. If you want to be a developer or not a developer, a manager for games, if you don't like the gotcha games, don't do the gotcha games. Jeez.
these games. And I feel like that in a way kind of fed into this as well. Because they chose to just not try to understand why the people who are playing this game that they're trying to create enjoy it. And instead, they were just like looking down on them and they were trying to find ways to
Oh my
increase the
God.
monetization within the game
Yeah.
and at what they
Milking,
thought was
like I
gameplay
said.
without really considering whether that gameplay itself was fun. Like one thing that
Yeah, like I said, they're milking the players on global. They will milk the players on global. That's their main target. Oh, how can we milk them? How can we milk them? Let's change this. Let's change this. Let's change this. Let's add this. Let's do this. And then boom, you got a bad product outside, and it's censored as well on a PC platform that a lot of people that actually play to. Number one, Steam, and that's the main reason why people went to Nataku, people went to Joran Games. And yeah, the data is not inconsistent as well because yeah, there are people that actually play from their mobile and on Steam that also link their account to Joran and Otaku. So yeah, it's gonna be inconsistent. All right, let's continue.
I still remember from very early in the project when I was like trying to steer it away from some of the things that were there. I was trying to tell them as well that like, you probably don't want to put in that VIP system because like it's something that if I recall
Ooh, he was against the VIP system. That is good. That is actually good. Oh my God, this guy is a hero. As a developer, you gain my respect. I didn't like the VIP system on time. I'm in RPGX Extasy. So yeah, 100% respect to this man, guys. 100% respect.
it's very popular in China and Chinese games it's very common. But it's a very predatory monetary system and it's not
That
very
is
common
true.
in many of the big anime title games out there. And if you were to put in something like this, it might actually piss off people instead because there is
It
this
already
decreasing
did.
fatigue of people like getting tired of the gacha system itself as compared to like in the early days of FGO or like Grand Blue. And there was a thing with the whole
Yes, this
skill
one.
system for the main character as well, where you had that very big looking skill tree, which to be honest actually felt very silly due to the fact that if you consider what that tree actually is, it looks like a very big winding tree, but really it's just a circle with like 4 lines sticking out of it.
It
It was
is.
actually very, very linear. you couldn't hop from the middle of one tree to another tree. The whole thing just kind of felt very pointlessly long and intimidating for new players, as you can imagine. If you're going to show a new player a skill tree with like 100 nodes on it right from the start, it's gonna intimidate most of them because no one really at the start of the game is gonna, when their investment in the game is not that high, want to read like 100 blocks of text just to figure out what will work and what doesn't. It's the reason why with many games, either
This is not a Yakuza game with very high skill trees or Path of Exile. All right, let's continue.
your skill tree is very simple, like with XCOM or like League of Legends, where it's like it only goes
There
down
we
like
go.
5 branches, or it's like something like the start of the game, maybe you only see like 5
Oh,
nodes,
Scarlet
and then the
Nexus.
node
Yeah, I played
expands
this
later
game.
on. And in doing that, you can kind of ease the player into the thing instead. And the other issue of all of this is the fact that expandability of that tree would have been a problem. So I was like asking them how they plan to add in another like tree once this one was basically like filled and players needed more stuff to do. And like the only thing they could say was, oh yeah, we're gonna add in the same tree again, but we'll add a second page. So you can scroll to the second page and do the thing from zero again, which that sounded very lazy and it didn't
It
sound very
is.
entertaining, especially when you consider like how linear and overly simplified the tree was to begin with. The two at the top, they had a very big penchant for just ignoring people, trying to give them constructive feedback in any way, shape, or form. So basically, it was just the two of them just going down the straight line path of like what they believed was correct, even though they barely understood the industry or the people that they were trying to cater to. And when it comes to the development side issues, trying to get the whole PvP thing to work out. By like the last 2 to 3 months before release, the balance was not even really thought of yet. So the PvP itself was already in a very shaky position, and they were initially planning for the PvP to be a form of like money earning for the game as well by adding in
Okay. So they're gonna milk the PvP as well. So their initial goal was for the game to be more PvP heavy, to get more people to spend more via what's this? Also changing the skills of weaker characters to make them more PvP oriented, so that more banners would be valuable. So yeah, I can respect this, but is it really needed? Oh man, that's the question. Is it really needed? Yeah, let's continue.
or like reworking certain skills such that the skills could then be more oriented for PvP as well. That all never came to fruition. There were a lot of plans put in for
Oh,
like
it never came
what
to
they wanted to
fruition.
do as a
Okay.
high vision for the development, but they just simply did not have the people who could execute it, and even in spite of that, they chose to push on and put it into the game. And I get the feeling that they kind of reached a point by this, like close to the first year anniversary, where they kind of realized that many of the things that they wanted to do, that they hoped would earn them money, would also not be very feasibly possible to do in a way that would have been successful. The 3v3 PvP that they wanted to add in. I remember even hearing something about trying to do like an Epic 7 style, like real-time PvP, like on the second or third anniversary, if it actually got that far. Like they actually weren't designing the game initially with the goal of having it end before the first year. It does feel like they missed the mark of what they actually wanted this title to become. Like, I feel like a huge part of the team at the time really just focused too much on the monetization. Like,
They
many of the
did.
meetings were about things such as the battle pass, the VIP
One hundred
system,
percent.
how
One
to change up the
hundred percent.
gacha. The goal, well, it should have been to make a more interesting PvE or like gameplay systems so that the game, even when you're playing it without the NSFW content, it won't be able to stand in its own game. Kind of like action
That is true. That is 100% true. If you can make a good game into something interesting, you can actually add for global, which without the not safe for work stuff. Like I've been saying, I know sex sells, but if they actually did something for the global for the gameplay that is very different from what you call it and not tedious from the JP version, this could have been saved, but they didn't. They just wanted to monetize the players to hell, as as being said here by overworked salaryman, which is a shame, 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 shame.
Taimanin, instead of focusing on that part of the goal, they kind of ended up focusing too much on how they could monetize the game like one of those titles instead. So
Exactly.
they looked at those other titles that exist out there, what they did, and were like, oh yeah, the awakening system, that will bring us money, and therefore we want it. Oh yeah, the VIP system, we can give the players benefits from it, but that won't give us money, so we want it. And the same could be said for all of these other systems that they introduced into this version of the game, which I get the feeling is part of why people found it more pay to win than the original as well. Because the original devs, or rather the devs for Ecstasy specifically, were too focused on this part rather than, more importantly, trying to make a fun game first. But yeah, that's all
Yes.
for me for today. Thank you guys for watching.
Yes. Instead of 100%, I agree. Instead of making a fun game, instead of the changes on global that we're gonna global players will be milk, but first focus on the fun. They didn't focus on the fun first. They focused on the greed. See what happened? EOS. The game died. Oh man, 100% agree on overworked salaryman here. Right, let's continue. He's on his closing spiel.
Yeah, this title, the fact that it went the way it did was really quite unfortunate. I didn't think that I would need to make this video this quickly, to be honest. Like, I was hoping, after seeing the specs initially, to see the other PvP forms, like the mods coming in the first anniversary, and like how much of the initial plan they could implement by that point. They basically just overscoped too hard and just realized they couldn't complete what they had set out to do, and so it just ended off the way it did. Hopefully, the next title they produce will be better. I know I remember seeing part of it in development before I fully left the company. It looks like they were trying to do something that, no, I can't talk about it because
You heard that, guys. They are doing something else. I don't know if it's Gremory. I don't know if it's the main Lilith team that is doing this. Because, yeah, it's an NDA. He can't say anything. That is the one that we are looking forward to. Whatever that game title is that he has an NDA on, hopefully that will actually bring something good for us players. Like I said, concentrate on the fun first before you milk us. Make us love the game first before you do. Just like best example is Tekken. They gave everything. They gave the story. They gave the characters. They gave a good ending. They gave DLCs as well, season pass, and then after a month or a couple of weeks, boom, they gave us the battle pass on Tekken. Many people didn't like it, me included. But like said, yeah, it will depend. It will depend on whatever they do. I'm talking about a single, not really a single player game, but a fighting game in my perspective. But yeah, this is a gotcha game. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it to the new management here. So let's continue.
it's not out. Even though I'm no longer bound by a contract, I feel like if I actually talked about that, I'll actually be in trouble. So
You will.
either way,
You will be on trouble, 100%. As much as you want to talk about it, I highly suggest, my friend, Overwork Salaryman, don't talk about it. Just mention it, build that hype, and we're good. Give us that hope. Give us that hope that either one of Interbrain, Lilith, or Grammary Games will actually deliver another good game for us. That's it. That's all. That's all gamers want. We just want a good game. That's it. All right, let's continue.
I saw it. It did look like it has a lot more potential than the last two games they released. So hopefully when that releases, I can actually make a positive video about it so that we can actually talk about a new title they made aside from Action Taimanin that was actually an interesting title that could potentially help the company go further, especially in their
Action Taimamin is almost 4 years. Taimamin RPGX in Japan is almost 5 years. So you can actually see people are supporting Action Taimamin. People are supporting RPGX. And like said, that is their moneymaker. RPGX, Action Taimamin. So yeah, Action Taimamin is merged on Global and JP. It's all in one. So yeah, You can play it on Steam. You can play it on mobile, on the go, and that's pretty much it. And overall, yeah, it's a good game. It's a good game. I love that game. Action Time, I mean, RPGX though. Yeah, I lost my account there, so that's a different story. But yeah, let's continue with Overworked Salaryman here.
Goals of trying to make games that can, well, balance the whole NSFW adult side as well as being a all ages game, so that they can ensure that they don't fall into the same issues that many companies recently have been facing with the whole MasterCard Visa Amex thing. With that said,
Oh my God! So that's the main reason why the Mastercard, Visa, and the basically the companies, the banking companies that are banning not safe for work stuff from Japan itself or any Asian companies or anything in general. So yeah, I think that's the main reason why. But hopefully, yeah, the new game would strike that good balance. We can actually see some naughty stuff that is right here, and then yeah, it has the naughty stuff and it has the gameplay that we will actually enjoy. So yeah, it will strike a good balance. So yeah, hopefully. All right, let's continue.
I'll be heading off for now. Thank you guys for watching. I do apologize to the people waiting for the Blue Archive Kyoto video. That will come out hopefully next week. Like, it will definitely be the next video this time around. I promise you guys that. This whole thing with the Taimanin one, it happened because of like, in a bit of a spur of the moment, since the title kind of EOS while I was in Kyoto, and so I figured may as well make the video, get it out, so that people who are wondering what had gone wrong can get to know it ASAP, and then I can go back and focus on the Blue Archive one and hopefully on the other video for the end of the month. Thank you all for watching as well. Do like and subscribe if you found
Yes.
this interesting. I mean, it's thanks to you guys, everyone watching as well, that the videos get more traction, and I mean the channel gets bit by bit more
Of course,
popular,
man.
which is great for everyone.
You're awesome.
You guys get to see more stuff being made, and I get more like, I guess, like reason to make more stuff as well. Because like it really is thanks to you guys watching and the people who support the channel that I even like have the enthusiasm to keep doing all of this. So thank you all once again. Thank you to everyone who supports the channel once again. Right, Ran Yakumo, Rosio, Nick Green, Kaori, John Kwan Van Dam, and Arisu. I'm getting bit by bit more used to saying you guys' names, so especially for John Kwan Van Dam, his name is
John Kwon Van
long, and
Damme.
my poor English skills makes me struggle a little bit at times.
For English skills, yeah, you're doing good. You have good English, man. 100%.
I think I actually do have like a few cuts of me like trying to repronounce it, because like
It's fine.
me no England good, no, yes, but that's it. I'll be heading off for now, so until next time, take care. And I thought I had my hat back there that I could just like and leave, but I don't have it, so
Oh my God.
take care and bye-bye.
Cringe.
Oh.
Oh no, Hero Wars. Oh man. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the reaction video on Overworked Salaryman. So yeah, guys, like I said, bottom line, why did it fail? Taimamin RPGX Ecstasy. Why did it EOS? Company greed. That's it. So thank you very much for watching, guys. As always, take care, stay safe. Give me a follow and let's have some fun here on Twitch. And also give me a subscribe on YouTube. Alrighty, guys. Bye bye.